started.
Oh, Tony Lambden. All right, so let's see. Time for e4 again. Tony is from Australia. c6. d6. Okay, so this is one of those laid-back Caro-Kanns. Let's go with c4. Just put the 3 pawns up there, and this will be a type of King's Indian in a way, except with this pawn on c6. This is interesting. A setup that is hard to break down. Okay, so this pawn is attacked, but it's defended. I'm going to waste some time on this move h3, and then I'm going to play bishop to e3. And the point of that h3 move is the bishop on e3 can't be challenged by his knight. And otherwise, I'm going with the classical setup here with bishops e2, e3, and castling. And okay, and he pushes on with e5. Yeah, I guess that's to be expected when they have these pawns here. It supports either c5 or e5, but he got an e5 in one move. Well, I guess that's typical. So let's see. If I push on with d5 here, and he can bring his knight to c5, or he can play pawn to c5 and close it. Let's see, knight to c5 would put 2 attackers on this guy. But I could defend. Closing it, I don't think is a problem either. So let's go ahead and play d5. If I can play that move and get away with it, I should have maybe a slightly better position. Okay, he's saying he's pinning the knight. It's not attacking anything else, so I think I can just castle. The knight's defended. Takes. So I take this way. I don't want to free up his e-pawn to come forward, so I'll take with the c-pawn. And now he can play knight to c5. I can play knight to d2 to defend here. Or I can take it. But I prefer to play knight to d2. Let's stop and think. Is there a way to set up a pawn fork here? Not right away. Pawn to b4 is a tempting move, but, well, he can just take it now. Well, pawn to b4, queen takes, rook to b. Now the knight's hanging. Okay. There's no tactics there, but it's always good to check. Check for those tactics. Maybe it'll be an idea later in the game to play a3, b4, or sometimes even b4 immediately with the idea of getting a skewer here. Okay, so we just ran away with this queen. So what do I want to do? This is, I want to play b4 here and kick that knight, I think. Where can the knight go? Here, 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 or here. Those squares are all covered, so it has to go back. So I don't want to keep that, I don't want to allow him to keep pressure on my e-pawn, so that's what I want to do. I've loosened my knight. I have to be careful about the knight on c3. Okay, and then now that I've relieved the pressure on that knight, I can bring this knight forward, put a little pressure on his d-pawn. Okay, he defends, and he's also preparing the move f5 here to break up my center. So what I'm wondering about is if I can play the move queen d2, f5, bishop h6. Get rid of that dark squared bishop. He takes, I take, or he pushes and the bishop retreats. And then I will take his bishop off. I'm going to try this. I'm not entirely sure this is correct. I never really know how to play these positions, honestly. The attack can get going quickly in these King's Indian style positions, and it's hard to say what's the best way to slow them down. Okay, so he's not pushing f5 immediately. It's interesting. Maybe, well, he's setting up b5, but this knight can retreat. Back to d3, e3 rather. Okay, but I would have to go somewhere else first, because if I go knight e3, he could take the bishop. So if he kicks the bishop, if he kicks the knight and I take the bishop, takes the knight, I take the rook. Okay, so after pawn to b5 hitting the knight, I have time to take his bishop. Okay, what else can he play here? He can still just play f5. That's kind of the most logical position here, and then bring his knights back into the game. Yeah, he went there. Okay, so I have to take, because I want to bring this knight to a good square. I don't want it to just get kicked around. So I thought e3 would be good. It's looking at f4, so it kind of discourages him from playing, f5, kind of discouraging him from playing f5. But no, he can still play f5. f5, pawn takes, pawn takes. It's supported by the rook. Okay, but he doesn't do that. He brings his knight here. Do I want to play f4 and open things up? His pieces look a bit awkward. If I could get a knight to g... No, that's not happening. He's got g4 well covered. A knight to g4 and a queen to h6 would be nice. But it looks like that's not happening. But maybe if I start to open things up here, it will. I've gotten rid of that dark squared bishop, which is one of the big objections to opening up and playing this f4 move, is that bishop comes to life. And particularly on this diagonal hitting my king. He goes there with the queen. Just as I was pointing that diagonal. Yeah, that's a weakness whenever you play f4. But well, at least he doesn't have the bishop on that diagonal. So do I want to go to h2 or h1? h2 helps control the g3 square, so unless there's a reason not to go there, a tactical reason, maybe it's the better square. The knights are defended at the moment. They're both a little bit wobbly in the sense that the only piece defending them is the queen. Oh, that's cute. I can't take the queen because if he takes back with the pawn, he will take back with the pawn, and then the knights are forked. And let's see, he's hitting this pawn, and he's hitting my queen. And how can I defend all of that? If I could move this knight to defend the queen, that would actually defend everything, but it would leave the rook hanging in the corner. So is there some clever tactic I can play here? Or shall I just let him have the b-pawn? Let's see, if I defend the queen and he takes this pawn, then I would take here.
Server announcement.
And I would get a passed pawn. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to defend the queen here and give up the b-pawn. Didn't plan that. But it still might be okay. Of course, he could take here first. Oh, he just takes the queen off. That should be very even. Unless there's a tactic against the rook here. Knight there. There, I don't see it. Okay, well, he's looking to undermine my pieces here, but he's let his eye off the g4 square. So knight g4 is possible here. And let's decongest things a bit around the center here. My pieces seem a bit clogged up, so I'm just trying to liberate them a little bit. They just seem to be stepping on each other's toes. And bishop, I don't think there's a big possibility of a sacrifice here. Maybe the idea was take here, something takes, and then bishop here with kind of fork. You could win 3 pawns for a piece, couldn't you? Okay, he just moved away, yeah, so he's holding on to his material. Not his material, he's holding on, yeah, keeping an equal amount of material on the board. Let's see, if I play e5 now, he can take with the knight or the pawn. Knight takes, pawn takes. I don't get it back. Yeah, I don't have enough force there. Let's see. Knight here. Pawn takes, bishop takes. Hits these two knights, but he can just move that knight away, I think. To b6, maybe. Tricky, tricky. Okay. So my pieces are still clogged up. How can I make this look a little smoother? Maybe drop the bishop back so that I'm not in the way of the rooks, so the rooks can connect. Bishop can come out here to b6. Okay, so he's chasing my knight away. f2 or e3. These other squares don't look very likely. Yeah, now he's hitting this knight. I was a little worried about that. Where can the knight go, even? The knight can go to e2. I don't want it to go there because it blocks the rook and the bishop. It can go back to b8. I can defend the knight with the rook, but then it's pinned. Can he attack it again with another piece? This is just terrible. I don't know, my piece coordination is really awful. At least this knight is defending the rook. So if he chases my rook away, and this pawn is still not hanging. He's not under attack even, which is good for the moment. Okay, so he's gotten his good square for his knight. Let's see if we can unwind a bit here. Knight back to e2. And maybe exchange off that one pair of rooks. And the knight has a good square on d4, perhaps. d4 to b6. You see how my pieces are still like all running into each other. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some good tactic that black has here, but I don't see it at the moment. Maybe that's it. He's hitting this pawn and I can't defend it. Okay, I can take one pair of rooks off, which gives him the c file. I can bring my knight to b6 to hold on to this pawn. That's what I will do. But then he can play, my knight to g3. He can play h4. What else can I do here? Back here. I'm not seeing the way to unwind. How about if he just doubles rooks? Isn't that going to cause a problem? I can drop my rook back, I guess. If I drop my rook back to f2 and play my bishop to e3, okay, he's invading with the knight. That's an interesting idea. Where's the knight going from there? It can go to f2. He's controlling the f2 square. Go to b2. These squares here. These are guarded. That's guarded. This is not guarded. He can go here. He's also hitting the b pawn. But actually the more serious threat is once again this idea of undefending my knight. Oh, and he's hitting the rook too. Yes, it's terrible. Let's see, what can I play here even? What can I even play here? Let's see. If I attack his rook, he just takes my knight. I have to give up the exchange here. And a pawn. Really awful. And another pawn is hanging. Okay, so can I at least activate this bishop here? The knight's defending my rook still. And I have d4 securely defended, but I'm just down a rook and an exchange and a pawn, which is probably a winning advantage for black, and also down on the clock. Okay, he's hitting my bishop. I'm going to force an exchange here.
Check.
And move up with my king. He can go there, huh? Knight here, check. Knight there, check. Knight here, check. Can he come in? I've got these squares covered. He can come into d4. And there's no check there after that. My, oh my. Well, that's good play. Good play by black here. Let's see what his next move is. Probably just trading rooks and grabbing the pawn. Hate to just resign here. I mean, he's winning, but let's see. I want to force him to win it, I guess. See how he wins it. He comes in with the king there anyway. Not sure what that does. Let's see. Oh, it hits my knight. Okay, let's defend the knight.
Check.
Okay.
Check.
Goes there. So my pawns are defended. He's going after the queenside pawns, it looks like. And still, these knights don't seem to have any good squares. It's kind of amazing. Amazingly bad position, like they say.
Check.
That's so I can defend the b pawn at least. Oh, but only for a moment. Okay, I'll get the knight to a better square here. I can't defend the b pawn anymore. Amazing. This does liberate my king, but well, it loses another pawn. Check there. Loses.
Check.
Forces the king back. I was trying to get my king forward to d5 there. That would have been a good square for the king. Let's see. Can I? Yeah, I can attack these pawns. But just because I can attack them doesn't mean I can win them. He's going to let me have a pawn. Good. I feel better having won a pawn.
Check.
There is objectively nothing I can do here, so why not win some pawns? Actually, if I win one more pawn, I'll have a passed pawn over here, and I would have some chance at life. But he's going to steal my last pawn.
Check.
That's a nice tactic. Check and pick up the rook. But I had to take it. Okay, good game. I'm resigning here. I will upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.